My fellow flames, welcome back to another Wuthering Waves video. My name is Amethyst, and today we're going to be reacting to another Juice video. Yes, another Juice video talking about Qiuyuan. He is set to release any day now. Now, before when we reacted to a Juice video, I basically said I was skipping Galbrainer. That was a lie. So today we're going to be looking at Qiuyuan and seeing if he is worth pulling, because since I lied about Galbrainer and I did in fact summon for Galbrainer, I've heard that Qiuyuan is going to be very viable for a Galbrainer primary team. He's going to be a good support indirect to Galbrainer. So that's what we're going to be discussing today, and that's what we're going to be reacting to today. Take it away, Juice. If you guys enjoy this video, hit that like, comment, and subscribe if you are new. Without further ado, let's get into this.
What are cool Qiuyuan's biggest pros and cons? That's what I'm here to tell you today. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. So, quick 2.7 story spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you get to trial Qiuyuan during the story, and during that trial, you're actually able to read the entirety of his kit if you so choose. So even though he's not available in the...
See, I didn't do that. I didn't read his entire kit. I just played the story because I was so immersed in what was going on. When you got to play Qiuyuan in the main story, it was insane. It was crazy. It was crazy. I don't think anyone knew you were going to be able to play Qiuyuan, and the fact that you got to fight Scar, it was crazy. It was crazy. It was peak cinema, some would say. Anyway, continue.
Crossing Stars menu at the minute, you can still very much read his kit in-game. And from what we know, we can easily decipher what type of value he's going to have. For starters, he is going to be an amazing echo skill damage buffer. He's able to provide up to 30%
skill damage buffer? He's gonna be a skill damage buffer? Okay. So So he's gonna support a lot of good DPSs we know and love. That means he's going to be supporting people like Frolova, Galbrainer. He could even be supporting people from the 1.x roster of characters like Qiuyuan or Jinshi maybe.
To that stuff, which is going to make him really valuable for basically any echo skill damage DPS, which basically points him towards being the best in slot Galbrainer and Frolova teammate. He is going to be really good for this archetype, and I personally think that if you want to invest into this archetype as a whole, Qiuyuan is going to be the guy to go to. Now, I say this archetype as opposed to just Galbrainer for a very specific reason, but I'm going to delve into later. But for now, if Echo's skill damage is right up your alley, then he's going to be well worth your Astrites, because
it's annoying that he isn't like a main DPS, and it's annoying that he doesn't play how I really want him to play. I really wanted Qiuyuan to be a main DPS, or at least a good sub DPS, because I'm actually a big fan of Yinlin. A lot of people would disagree with me and say she's absolutely dog water and doggy doo-doo. I like her playstyle, and I think she's pretty solid as a sub DPS. But I would have liked it if Qiuyuan was more of a main DPS role of a character. But then again, since Galbrainer is a hypercarry character, I can see why that isn't a thing.
I personally don't think that Kuro Games is going to make a character better than him for this specific niche. After all, it's quite a particular way of playing. I should also add, I don't know if echo skill damage characters as a class are going to continue thriving. I don't know if Kuro Games is planning to add more of them, and if this is going to be a consistent, reoccurring niche of characters. If it is, that means Qiuyuan's future pull value could only bolster up from here. If it isn't, well then he's basically just going to be used with Galbrainer and Frolova.
I don't think Kuro would be that stupid to release a character that is clearly a hype character, and a character that is very influential not only in the story, but seems to be influential in the meta. I don't think they would release a unique character like Qiuyuan and then never support him in the future. I just don't think that's the case. I mean, it could be the case, but I don't think it would be.
Otherwise, not really anybody else. So that's something to keep in mind. I will say that he has future potential, and him being the best echo skill damage buffer could actually be something that could benefit him in the long run, if Kuro Games continues to opt into making these types of characters. But if they...
I think that's what they want to do. I think different phases of the game, Kuro have been dishing out different phases of characters, and I think this is the kind of character they want to start pushing and releasing and supporting.
They don't? Well, then he's likely just going to stay tied to those two characters. It is something to consider, but I would personally only get him based on his current value, and if his current value impresses you. I'm saying all this because he very much is really good at what he does. We're just gonna have to wait and see, is there going to be more use for what he does? But as of now, there is use for what he does, and he does it absolutely amazingly. For instance, he ends up being the new best in slot third slot teammate for Frolova teams. That is really good, because Frolova is ridiculously meta right now. Not only does she absolutely tear apart Whimpering Wastes like it's her playground, but she's also really good in TOA, especially in the later stages 3 and 4.
See, I've always used Frolova as an off-field damage dealer. I've never used Frolova as a main DPS. Maybe I should. Maybe when I summon for Qiuyuan, maybe that is something that I should consider. Maybe I should look at Qiuyuan being a direct sub DPS for Frolova. Maybe a good team could be Frolova, Qiuyuan, and Shorekeeper. But I did just hear Juice say that he was a good third slot teammate. So maybe I could figure something else out. But we'll see how it goes.
Because our longer rotation doesn't really suffer there, considering that we have 30 extra seconds in order to clear the floor. So, all things considered, Frolova is kind of busted right now. The meta is in the palm of her hand, and Roshi is getting replaced in her teams. Yeah, the clown kid really can't catch a break, but at this point, is anybody surprised? So, with that in mind, if you want to see Frolova's absolute best possible performance, then you're gonna have to stick Qiuyuan on the end of her team. And let me tell you, it is quite the nice upscale, because it means that it's going to definitively place Frolova as the best DPS in the game. And personally...
Oh, he's gonna buff her that much? He's gonna buff her that much? No. Surely not.
I think that if you're a support that's able to turn a character into the best DPS in the game, you have a lot of value. So, Qiuyuan, at least right now, has some guaranteed value in the fact that he's going to be best in slot for one of the best DPSs in the game, if not the best DPS in the game. And I personally think that makes him quite worth the F-Strides if you have Frolova. He doesn't interfere with Cantarella's position in Frolova's team, because she's still going to be the best second slot teammate.
Okay, so, since I don't have Cantarella, and neither will I ever be summoning for Cantarella, by the way, so anyone that says, why didn't you summon for Cantarella? She's like the hottest cat. Shut the fuck up. I don't want Cantarella. Qiuyuan is a character I really, really want, and I have Shorekeeper. So it will literally be either Galbrina or Frolova, Qiuyuan as my sub DPS, and then Shorekeeper.
He's going to be the third slot in particular. And the reason why this is good is because while Roshia was indeed the best in slot for a while, she wasn't exactly the best in slot by some ridiculous...
No one cares about Roshia. If you care about Roshia, you're in a very small percentage of players. I think she was cool in the story. I think she's cute. But I think she's terrible to play. Personally.
Margin. She was just a good alternative to Shorekeeper, while also serving as a means to increase Cantarella's own personal damage. However, with Qiuyuan around, you're able to have a third slot teammate that's far more substantial to Frolova's own actual playstyle. So if you're an absolute Frolova superfan, I highly advise that you go out of your way and get Qiuyuan, because...
I think I'll use him with Galbrina, because I really want to get good with Galbrina, because I love the way she plays. She's so fun to play. But I do also want to try it with Frolova, because it's going to make Frolova the best DPS in the game. It's going to make Frolova the best DPS in the game, so...
He really is going to be a great upgrade for you, and like I said, Frolova is in such a good meta position right now, it is worth the investment. And if you're ever worried about her falling off in TOA, first of all, I wouldn't really worry about it because it takes a very long time for DPSs to fall off in this game anyway. But even so, fair enough concern, just look at Whimpering Wastes. There is no way that they're going to make a character that is going to top her there. And in fairness, I would understand the argument of she's really broken there, she doesn't really need the upgrade, and that's also totally fair. This is the thing, you can still justifiably skip him. You will be totally right in thinking Frolova is so good that she doesn't really need an extra push. Yeah, you're right, she is that good, she doesn't really need that additional push. But if you want to turn her into an absolute monster, you want to push her into that realm of just being utterly broken if she doesn't already feel good enough, well then you're going to be very happy with what you get.
I also want to make sure you want to main DPS. Now, I know a lot of you are going to be like, you're crazy for wanting to do that. But I would like to see what his maximum damage output is capable of. And I want to see how much his maximum damage output could be. So for that reason, I might make him a main DPS to see an experiment. And then I'll build the Galbrina and Frolova team.
Now, I've mostly been focusing on Frolova first up until this point, because she is a stronger DPS
Now talk about Galbrina.
than Galbrina. She's just more meta than her on the whole. And I understand that Qiuyuan is being made for Galbrina, but focusing on Frolova first is quite frankly more of an important pro. However, moving on to Galbrina, yes, he is also going to be best in slot for her hypercarry teams. Very much going to help her out. Amazing buffs for her, and all around was designed with her in mind. So, if you want the absolute best possible Galbrina team, and with that being said, the strongest possible fusion team that you'll be able to play in the game, then Qiuyuan is going to be worth your time. If you're a Galbrina superfan, then yes, he is going to be able
I became a Galbrina superfan because of the story. The story made me a Galbrina superfan. Because she literally turns into Super Angel Galbrina. It's so sick. It's
to
so
provide
cool.
that big benefit for you. I will say that if you already have a triple fusion team components, mostly Brant, Wuthering Waves, and Lupa together, then you're gonna have the damage required in order to compensate for not having Qiuyuan. It's pretty much going to work almost just as well. Not literally, Qiuyuan is still going to be better by a good amount, and it's still going to be worth pulling him if you care about an upgrade. But if you already have a triple fusion component, mostly Lupa, especially Lupa in this case, because you can get away with just putting Mortefi in Brant's place even if it is worse, well then you don't really need the guy. However, Qiuyuan is still going to absolutely be the definitive best in slot for Galbrina, and is going to be very strong for him. So, all things considered, he is best in slot for both of the characters in the niche that he serves. Okay, so we've established that Qiuyuan is a very good character, but what about his flaws? One of them is that he's definitely not really focused on damage as much. The reason why this is relevant is
Bollocks. That's annoying.
because it's not really so much of a flaw as much as it is different. And it's gonna be a lot harder to DPS Qiuyuan at S0 than it would be for somebody like a Yuno or Brant, or characters that just naturally have a ton of damage weaved into their rotation. In fact, damage is the main selling point for those two characters, whereas in Qiuyuan's case, he's definitely a lot more on the buffing side, so this means that his value is a lot more heavily tied to his buffing. He's not really able to compensate for his niche buffs by just having a crap ton of damage, so you are really ideally going to be putting him in his main teams, in which he is good. Otherwise, you basically don't really have much of a use for him, because like I said, he can't really do anything else other than his buffs. It's not that he's gonna do no damage, it's more just he doesn't really do enough damage to justify playing around him in particular.
I feel like if you release him 1.x, he'd be very good. But I think because of the way the content has gone over the past year and a half, Juice just literally just said his damage isn't bad, it's just nowhere near capable of keeping up with the content we have today. That's basically what she just said. But she also said S0, so we don't know what his sequence nodes do. So let's hope for the best and see if he's got sequence nodes to help his damage.
Whereas with those other second slot teammates that I mentioned, that's kind of a part of their gimmick. Whereas with Qiuyuan, he is definitely more on the buffing side, and I should say, the buffs that he provides are really good in turn. They definitely compensated for this, and I do think that this was a very conscious choice on Kuro's end, but it's not like he was done dirty, because they made sure that his buffs were good in turn. However, it can be argued that this is going to hurt his shelf life a bit. And moving on to that, his shelf value is questionable, because while he is a really strong echo skill damage buffer, his high value is going to last for as long as Frolova and Galbrina last. He basically...
No, I don't think so. I'm going to test him out with multiple other teams, not just Galbrina and Frolova. I'm sure those two are the best for him, but I'm sure there's other 5-stars that work. I'm sure there are.
lives and dies with those two characters in terms of meta value, especially for Frolova. But for as long as those two are good, he's gonna be a really good pull. So all things considered, he's gonna be an amazing investment.
I am trying him with Jinshi. I'm saying that now. I'm going to make a video about him with Jinshi. And I'm gonna see how it goes. If it's sick, if it's good, Jinshi's back.
For at least his next two banners, if you wanted me to make a prediction, assuming that the meta continues in the trajectory that it's currently been going in. And when you consider how ahead Frolova is, you're basically not going to see her fall off anytime soon, unless Kuro gets really upset at Havoc characters and decides to really anti-shield them or something like that. But that's probably just not going to happen for multiple TOAs in a row, even if it were to happen for one or two in the future. In fairness, I did say at the start of the video, they could technically just keep making Echo skill damage characters, and if they keep doing that, well then his value is only going to bolster from here. However, if we go under the assumption that only Galbrena and only Frolova are going to be his main teammates, then he basically exists for as long as those characters exist. Now I would like to add, this isn't really anything new. Every support kinda has this. It's only recently that we've started to see them get mega flexible. Somebody like Juja also only has synergies with Carlotta, Jinshi, and if you really want to count them, Lingyang. This isn't anything new, it's just that, like I said, because characters have been balanced more around their damage, they've been so flexible, and they've been able to do multiple other things in other teams with other abilities that they have in their kit. Whereas with Qiuyuan, he's definitely got a more one-track design, and he definitely has a certain way that Kuro intends you to play. And I should also add that he is technically replaceable. The reason I don't really like this con is because, well, he's best in slot in both of his use cases, and by a good enough margin too. A pretty significant one for Frolova, and a decent enough one for Galbrena. So this is a bit of a silly point. However, if you do already have Lupa from our last banner, I wouldn't necessarily...
So it is a viable point. You need to sort of lay out the points like this. You need to let people know. But I'm going to try him with multiple different characters. Not just Frolova and Galbrena. I'm going to try him with Jinshi. I'm going to try him with Zani. I'm going to try him... I'm going to make lots of experimental decisions to see if there's a team that I like him in more than the typical meta, because I am primarily a casual player. I don't really go out my way to play TOA. I don't touch Whimpering Wastes. So realistically, the content that I would need him for in regards to Frolova, I don't need. And Galbrena, I'm still getting used to playing because I haven't really been playing the game too much where I've been so busy the past couple of weeks. But from what I have played of Galbrena, she's fun, so maybe Qiuyuan will make her better, which means I can enjoy that team better. But I'm also going to try him with older characters as well to see if they fit.
Pull for her now if you're looking for a Galbrena teammate, because Qiuyuan is literally just around the corner. But either way, if you already have one of those characters from their previous banners, then there's not really as much point in getting Qiuyuan. Kind of depends on your position. I'd say that if you have the Astrites to spare and you want to really hone in on these teams, then he's absolutely worth it. But if you're kinda low on Astrites, you don't need to force it. I think that's how I would put it. You won't be playing best in slot, but you'll get by just fine because these characters' alternate premium options are still really good. And in Frolova's case, you can basically just use Shorekeeper or Roshi on the end, and you're still going to have a perfectly effective team. I honestly underrated Qiuyuan initially at first. He is a lot better than I initially gave him credit for whenever I first saw him in the livestream reveal. I really like the character, of course, and I really want to highly invest into him. I'm hoping to main him, actually. I love his design. He looks awesome. But all that aside, I do think that his kit is genuinely really good. It's just...
I think he's one of the best designed characters we've had in the game. Genuinely, I think he's one of the best characters in the game. And we've got a lot of great character designs, but I think he's one of the best.
That, or even a particular type of player who can benefit from him. Like, he is the sort of character where, if you can benefit from him, he has an S tier account pull. If you can't benefit from him, well, literally, why would you get him?
Because he looks cool. Because he looks badass.
Is very much, get him if you have the characters for him, skip him otherwise.
No.
And you could argue...
No. Get him if you want him. Just get him if you want him. If you're a casual, get him. Get him. No. The video's done. Video's done. Get him. If you want him, get him. If you like the way he looks, get him. Get him. If you like the way this motherfucker looks, summon him. I am. That's what I'm doing. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe if you are new. Thank you so much for watching. I'll speak to you in the next one. Take it easy.